I'm Jody Avirgan. Have you heard of Blue Apron? Well, now you have. Blue Apron's mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone. The country's #1 fresh ingredient and recipe service, fresh, high-quality ingredients make the difference, so it's important to know where your food comes from. Plus, it's affordable, easy, and full of surprises. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals for free with free shipping. You will love how good it tastes and feels to create home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so don't wait. Go to blueapron.com/30 for 30.
This is the best of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
We are roaring in here at the entrance on First Take that Stephen A. Smith just made. He's breathless because he came in like the Jabberwockies. He was dancing. The Jabberwockies were dancing. All of First Take is in Vegas. And then Stephen A. Smith came out behind the Jabberwockies wearing the Jabberwocky mask. But because he is physically Stephen A. Smith, it looked like Stephen A. Smith wearing a Jabberwocky mask. So it was very clear that even though you couldn't see his face, it was Stephen A. Smith.
You can tell by the hairline.
Yeah.
And then Stephen A. Smith danced well enough.
Oh, he's a good dancer.
Yeah, very
Stephen
good
A.
dancer.
just broke the internet.
Yeah.
He just broke the internet.
No doubt.
Okay, well, let's see this here. That's how he entered. Why didn't Max enter that way? It was just Stephen A.
I was going to ask, is Max just sitting at the desk? There's no way he's making any
Fuming
sort
with
of
envy. Fuming with envy. Oh. Why don't I get asked? Because it would look ridiculous if it were Max.
I hope Will Kane makes the same entrance.
Let's see here. Hold on a second. Let's see how.
Because Stephen A's already come in, right?
He just killed it. He's got to be so proud of himself.
But Max, Max is already at the chair.
Yeah, he's just sitting at the chair. I don't think Max wants anything to do with that, to be honest with you.
It was delightful. It really was. I'm always making the jokes. I mean, the Jabberwockies. Go ahead, Guillermo, put it on the poll. Will the Jabberwockies make any party better? The answer to that is yes, right? I mean, they were dancing, and they were dancing well, as they always do. And then Stephen A. Smith came behind them. Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Are you surprised that Stephen A. Smith is a good dancer?
Not at all.
No. I'd be surprised if he wasn't. Yeah,
it'd be heartbreaking if he weren't.
Correct. What do you think, Max? Think Max is a good dancer?
Yes.
Yeah. So do I. Yeah. I do. I think Max is a great dancer.
Well, who are the poorest dancers at ESPN? We're just going to go ahead and do body types, aren't we?
Yeah.
That's what's going to end up happening. And then next thing you know, Windhorse is going to be out on the dance floor by himself. I can't play any of these games because
I think Windhorse is a better dancer than Teddy Bruschi.
I can see Windhorse shaking it.
Put that on the poll, please. But Guillermo, put it on the poll. Who is a better dancer? Because you're right. Teddy Bruschi's robotic.
Stiff, yeah.
Stiff, total stiff.
Terrible.
Starch.
Yeah.
Starch dancer.
Yeah. The key to dancing is not caring.
That's right.
Yeah, that's it. I can see Bob Lee.
Hold on a second. What?
I think he's a good dancer.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Slow down.
Okay.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Who's a better dancer? Windhorst or Teddy Bruschi? And you get that out of your mouth.
What do you mean?
When Bob Lee is dancing, he is being a journalist.
He's only dancing because he is investigating dancing.
He's trying to get close to someone who's talking about
He's trying to get close to fairness.
Right. But I think everyone agreed. When I said Bob Lee, I think the shipping container agreed. I could just see Bob Lee crushing a dance floor.
Come on. Knock it off.
I'm telling you.
Just knock it off. Bob Lee can't dance.
Cut a rug, man.
Get out of here. Come on, man. You'd be stunned. If I showed you video right now of Bob Lee and he was dancing the way Stephen A. just was with the Jabberwockies, you wouldn't say that is not surprising to you.
Well, I'm not saying he would dance as well as Stephen A. danced. I could just see him.
How do you have him dancing?
I just unafraid, just kind of having fun. The tie, he
excellent ballroom dancer.
Yeah, he unbuttoned. No, I could see him like at like a wedding, just tearing it up.
I see him doing the mashed potato.
Hold on a second. Hold on. No, wait a minute. Guillermo and Fats and Info are throwing their hands up in the air and they're waving them like they just don't care. And that is not how Bob Lee dances.
No. He unties the tie, but it's still on. It's around his neck. It's on, and then he unbuttons a couple of buttons on the shirt.
Bob Lee dances ironically.
He does do that, but he does the mashed potato. No. He was born a hand jive.
Maybe the mashed potato, ironically. The fish on the eyes, or what is that?
I think he could kill a Cupid shuffle.
Yeah.
Ironically, though, all just to make the kids laugh. The kids' table laugh near their nuggets and fries.
You're not a good dancer, right?
No.
Yeah.
I've seen Dan try.
Yeah. What does he do?
Shoulders moving. Shoulders moving.
Yes.
I'm an embarrassment to my brown heritage as a dancer. It's a great source of shame. And if a genie emerged from a bottle, what I would wish for very high on the list would be, please allow me to be a great dancer. Sensual in style. Lover and undercurrent.
Right. I could see just like a classic dancer, just unafraid, just classic, standing tall, couples dancing, Bill Polian.
What?
I think he's good.
You can't play this game.
No, I'm telling you,
The worst.
No, Bill Polian.
Right?
Worst.
Bill Polian would ban
never know.
dancing.
Yeah, he would ban dancing at his town. He'd become mayor of a town that banned dancing.
I don't think so.
I might be willing to give you a look, man.
I don't
look,
think so.
And I'm getting angry.
All right.
I might be willing to give you that Bob Lee dances ironically some 50 songs like John Travolta in Pulp Fiction, and I might be willing to give you that after much training, Bob Lee, ballroom dancer, maybe some elegance. That is where I draw the line. This is non-negotiable. I will not discuss it any further.
Polian.
I think Polian, man. I think the guy you're
talking.
thinking of who would ban dancing is Andy North. I think Polian could be a very, very good dancer.
Polian could do a mean waltz.
Yeah,
for sure.
Thank you.
Andy North would be the better ballroom dancer.
No.
Now that you mention it, I'm kind of picturing some lederhosen on Bill Polian. He could kill a polka.
Thank you. Telling you, man.
What?
Yeah.
Once you put him in the lederhosen,
Yes.
you can absolutely see him polka.
Yeah.
I've got him being too rigid of mindset and rigid physically of body.
Google Bill Polian lederhosen,
Oh, it's there.
and I'm sure someone's thought of this, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Zero results.
On the Reddit.
Zero results. The internet. How are you spelling lederhosen?
Not well.
We've got a couple of sueys to get to today. Two sueys.
Dan Batard.
What are you up to these days, Dominique? You're broadcasting for the Hawks, right?
Stugotz.
No, I'm vice president of basketball of the Hawks, part owner.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Our sueys, they are this week, and they are concluding today, and they are our Oscars. And so we've got Best Revelation right here for you over the course of the last year on our show. What has been the best revelation? Let's find out together.
And now, the suey nominees for Best Revelation. Joe Buck went to the bathroom during a touchdown call.
Well, it was at County Stadium in Milwaukee, and the half just would not end, and I was dying. And we were out of commercial breaks, and the bathroom was literally, you had to be like an Olympic athlete to get to the bathroom in time. And so I kicked the stage manager out of the booth, this young girl, and I said, I'm going to keel over here, and they brought me a trash can. Then I got stage fright. Then the commercial break was ending, which was only 30 seconds. Then play resumed. Then I resumed, and as I was relieving myself, Brett Favre threw a touchdown to Sterling Sharp, and I called the touchdown while peeing in a trash can.
Wow. Wait a minute. It is said that you can't pee and sneeze at the same time. Were you able to continue the stream while the enthusiasm went up for the touchdown call?
Let me tell you, it's one of the greatest physical achievements of my life.
Adam West has a Batman in his mouth.
Do you have a Batman in your mouth?
Where?
Isn't one of your teeth? Isn't it emblazoned with the Batman logo?
Yes, I have a tooth. The lab put a Batman logo on it. It was a prank.
What do you mean it was a prank? The dentist did it without you knowing?
Yes.
You got to sue him.
Pranked with a bat on my tooth.
You got to sue him for that. What do you mean it was a prank? What the hell's he doing?
I don't know, but it was kind of fun.
Greg Cody, PFBI got a revelation.
Greg Cody of the Miami Herald does an annual gala. It's at his house. He wears a suit. He's the only one wearing a suit. There are how many people there every year? 6 people.
This was our 13th annual gala of the modern era. And we came back in 2004 after laying dormant for about 3 decades. having started in 1969.
What are the names of the 6 teams at this alleged gala?
Mom's Maniacs.
Of course.
Chris's Critters. Dick's Rough Riders.
Wow. That's your brother Dick.
Whoa. Greg's Lobos. Mike's Chickens. And Christie's Ferraris.
Don't you dare.
So Greg Cody's wearing a suit. He's handing over a trophy to a family of 5 other people who don't want his trophy, don't want him driving.
He is just now realizing all
It just
that.
dawned on him how stupid all this is. Revelation to him. Revelation to Cody how stupid it all is.
Mike Ryan reveals he has a shy bladder.
I was at a University of Miami, Florida State game, and there was an enormous line for the bathroom. It was taking a little bit. It must have taken like 7 seconds, but I was feeling the pressure because I know how long I was standing in that line, and I faked it. And I flushed, and I ran out of there with shame. Yeah.
What?
It was I didn't know what was happening.
Wait a minute. Shy bladder syndrome is something that can go and come like that. Like it's a stage fright situation. It's not always there. It's unpredictable.
It's actually happened to me a couple times on a boat. Like, oh, just go off the props. I'm like, no, but everyone can see my wiener. No.
Cole Beasley dominated Des Bryant in horse.
I tell you what, Des has gotten the worst end of the basketball, thing, not thinking a white guy can play.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Tell us the story.
It was camp probably 2 years ago, and everybody was playing horse, and I swear me and Des stayed out there for like 3 hours shooting because I kept winning, and he wanted to beat me so bad.
Mike Golick Jr. officially retires from the NFL.
I am officially announcing my retirement from the National Football League.
Wow.
Drake's dad pick up money off the floor at the strip club with Drake.
I have been in the strip club with him, and I have walked out of that strip club looking like, the Michelin Tire Man.
I do know
because I had so much money around my waist. Okay. I wasn't throwing it away. I wasn't going to throw it away.
So you were taking all the money and just stuffing it into your own clothing?
That's right.
Great story. That is great. So wait a minute. Were you picking up?
Wait. I did throw about $25 out.
Okay. You threw $25 out. How much did you stuff into your clothing?
When I got home and counted it, I must have had like maybe 8,000.
James Johnson's Derrick Rose revelation.
True or false, Derrick Rose thinks hotels are haunted and thinks it so much that he stayed in a room with you one night because he was afraid of ghosts.
True. OKC. OKC Hotel, the Skirvin Hotel, that's true. We were just coming back from dinner, and I was walking with him to his room to grab something out of his room. And when we got there, all his stuff was flipped upside down, the bed, the couches, the chair in there. And he immediately turned white and took off running.
People used to do that to Patrick Ewing all the time. You guys were bleeping with Derrick Rose. Which one of your teammates did that?
No, to this day, we still don't know it. Oh. We don't get it because I was the rookie then. He wasn't the rookie. It was his second year. So I was the rookie. Taj Gibson was a rookie. So we thought they were going to do that to our room. And he stayed on my bed. I was on the floor. I slept on the floor that night. And
wait a minute.
Wait, he got the bed?
Wait a minute. What?
What?
Like I said, that's Derrick Rose, and he was starting and playing all the minutes, and I'm a rookie not playing no minutes. He can have the bed.
All right, James, today, though, this year, you're sleeping on the bed.
That's
Derrick
right.
Rose is sleeping on the floor.
That's right.
James.
I appreciate that.
Joe Thomas admits he cries when he watches The Bachelor.
The most embarrassing one, thankfully, nobody's in my living room on Monday nights when I watch The Bachelor because I break down in tears nearly every night that we watch The Bachelor.
Joe!
I just can't get enough of the sappy romantic reality shows, and they just bring me to my knees.
Tim Kershaw ended up in a bathtub after 5 beers.
When I covered the Orioles, we went out to the lodge one night after a game, and I literally woke up in the bathtub the next day. I knew I was in the bathtub. I didn't fall in there. It was just the only place I could go, knowing I was going to throw up every 5 seconds. So that was in 1986. I haven't even been close to that since. I'm not sure I was ever close to that before. The lodge did me in.
That night that you ended up in the bathtub, 2 beers?
5.
Michael Strahan reveals a prank Sean O'Hara pulled on Eli Manning.
I think the best thing that Eli gets pranked by Sean O'Hara, who's our center.
when Sean cut the crotch out of his pants, and Eli went down there to get the ball, and he had Sean's little friend sitting on his hand.
What? Whoa, keep going, Michael.
Wait a minute. When was this? When was...
And that's why they make hand sanitizer, people.
Stugotz revealed he worked out next to actor Ken Jeong.
Ken Jeong was at the gym with me. He was. Ken Jeong. He was doing the treadmill. I was doing the elliptical. What? And I only went on the elliptical to try to spark up a conversation with Ken Jeong. It's the saddest thing I've ever heard. It's true.
Jemele Hill and her friends have nicknames for their ex-boyfriends.
One of my really good friends, she actually is a senior writer at the Undefeated, Kelly Carter. We have nicknamed all of her bad man choices, and she's nicknamed all of mine. And so when we don't even call them by their first names, we'll be like, hey, yo, Glazed Donut said this. Did you hear what happened to him? And that really is somebody's nickname. Long story, can't tell it on your show, otherwise we all getting fired.
Well, I can imagine. Yeah, I imagine before. You didn't even need to say that. I imagined before. Glazed Donut. Oh, my God.
Tim Kirshen, shoe revelation.
For my entire life, I have worn my shoes virtually at all times other than in bed and in the shower and in a pool or the ocean. My shoes are always on. Never take them off.
Wow.
Stugotz reveals he met the Kardashians.
I met Rob.
No.
I did.
You've met Rob Kardashian.
Remember I went to California last year with my family? We were...
You were hanging out with Rob Kardashian?
I was waiting with my daughter outside his house, and he just happened to come out.
Wait a minute. Wait.
We were walking the dog.
Whose dog?
My wife's cousin's dog.
Okay, I'm on it.
So, did you see Rob or you met Rob?
I said hello to Rob.
Did he say hello back?
No.
That's not a meeting.
That's not a meeting.
I also hid a couple of houses away and waited for Kylie Jenner to come out of her house.
Kylie or Kendall? Or can you tell?
It was who's dating Tyga?
Jim Harbaugh, Halloween strategy revelation.
You can get a lot of candy by going out there and walking from house to house, but you can get a lot more by jogging from house to house. And if you can if you can sprint, then you'll get the most candy.
Right. But okay, so do your kids train for Halloween?
We get prepared, and that's the strategy, is to run, go as long as we can, as fast as we can, and the strategy of having a second costume ready. Once you've hit every house in the neighborhood,
excellent, yes.
You want to come home, you want to change into a secondary costume and go back and hit all the houses again.
Excellent.
Michael Holley, Bill Belichick revelation.
Belichick's got a weird sense of humor, too. I remember one time, the very serious, very taciturn Bill Belichick, he's in his office, and I'm thinking he's going deep dive on some team. He's breaking down film, and I thought I heard a giggle. So, okay, what's he doing? I get a little closer, and the giggle becomes a laugh, and he's in there listening to the Jerky Boys.
Hey, Belichick is listening to the Jerky Boys. All right.
Jerky Boys. And he's crying. He's crying, laughing over Saul Rose.
At the Jerky Boys prank calls?
At prank calls, yes.
Kathy Pitras, Dr. Seuss revelation.
Dr. Seuss? It was really supposed to be Dr. Seuss. And,
what?
Yeah, is that weird? It's Dr. Seuss, who you read as a little kid.
What?
But he ended up going along with the public. That's another case. Everybody said it's Seuss, so he thought, okay, the hell with it, I'll call it Dr. Seuss, too.
Really? That's
Yeah, but
stunning.
it was Dr. Seuss. His mom's maiden name was Seuss, and that's what he named it after.
Vincent Trocek, Yamir Yagar, revelation.
Did you guys tease him at all about that whole extortion attempt that happened where some young woman was saying she was going to expose him and send pictures out of him? Oh, we got something here.
I thought it was hilarious.
So what did you guys say to him? Like, what does one say to Yarmir Yager in that circumstance?
Whenever it first came out, we didn't think it was real. We thought someone maybe photoshopped it or something. So Yogs, what are you doing with this girl here? He's like, what do you mean? What am I doing? And we're like, you got pay her or what? What's going on? He's like, no, what do you mean I got to pay her? He's like, she wants to put out a picture. Go ahead and put out a picture. I look good.
Greg Cody, it's pork butt all the time.
The cut of meat, when I make pulled pork, slow cook a pork roast to make pulled pork, the cut of meat I use is called the Boston butt. So it's a delicacy. I eat butt all the time.
Mile High revelations. David Hasselhoff.
Are you in the Mile High Club?
Who isn't?
Exactly.
Okay, there you go.
Siri.
Have you been in the Mile High Club?
We do not tell.
Okay.
Brian Cranston.
Have you ever been in the Mile High Club?
Yes.
Yes.
I got to tell you, it was one of the most difficult things to do.
Yeah.
And it takes, because you're so uncomfortable, it takes tremendous concentration.
PJ Carlissimo.
PJ, what year was it when you joined the Mile High Club?
Boy, long time ago.
Yes, PJ!
Long time ago. I'm approaching senility. I may not even be remembering correctly.
Tony Dungy.
Do you know what the Mile High Club is?
I've never heard of it.
Okay. This is now going to be problematic and awkward, but okay. The Mile High Club is making love to a significant other in an airplane a mile above the earth. Stugotz is hiding under the desk. Thank you. You're no help. There are a lot of people assuming that you're not in this club, and I think that they're, unfairly smearing repressions upon the religious. I think that you might be. So...
In an airplane, no, I'd have to say I'm not in that club.
All right.
Kim Kirshen.
Hey, Tom, are you a member of the Mile High Club?
No, absolutely not. I have trouble on sea level, believe me.
Wow. Oof.
Don Batard.
Marriage at some point, I think for a lot of people, they get down to, and this is really a sad part about marriage, where you're just having sex one day a week. And that one day a week is Sunday. And so I love Sundays, but I hate everything I have to do leading up till Sunday, which is essentially agree with everything my wife says and does everything she asks me to do. And I'm only doing that for the Sundays. Because if I don't do it, there ain't no Sundays. And I can't live without my Sundays.
Stugotz.
I wonder if Abby hates Sundays.
Oh, she despises them.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Such a huge honor using our airwaves and our platform for Mike Golick Jr. to announce his retirement. Like, he could have done that anywhere.
Yeah.
And he did that, because of how sacred our space is.
Mm-hmm.
And whoa, did that shock us that day.
Yeah.
So LaShawn McCoy, Stugotz, is one of the rare guys in football who says stuff. There aren't many, right? There aren't many quotable guy who says stuff that's dangerous, that might get into some trouble. How many are there in football? Because football has a way of nuking and Brandon Marshall's one of them.
Michael Bennett's
one of them.
James Harrison.
There aren't that many, though, right?
Not many.
Not many.
LaShawn McCoy is one of them. LaShawn McCoy is asked about Colin Kaepernick. What did you make of him saying Colin Kaepernick's not good enough for the distraction he'll bring?
Well, he creates a distraction just by saying that. LaShawn McCoy does. Maybe a bigger distraction than if Colin Kaepernick were actually playing for the Buffalo Bills. And here's what's funny, and this is what Kaepernick should do. He should take note and make a list. So when Tyrod Taylor goes down, and LaShawn McCoy is calling his phone and begging him to take over because they're in the playoff hunt for a wild card spot and says, Colin, we need you to come here to Buffalo, play quarterback. Kaepernick should say, no, I'm a distraction. That's what he should say. He should be keeping notes. That's a terrible job by LaShawn McCoy. It really is. It is. Because I promise you, Dan, if Tyrod Taylor goes down, first off, I'm not certain Colin Kaepernick's not better than Tyrod Taylor. But if Tyrod Taylor goes down, LaShawn McCoy is going to be one of the guys reaching out to Colin Kaepernick saying, hey, come play quarterback here.
Didn't you say a team is going to win a Super Bowl with Tyrod Taylor?
I was wrong.
Oh, he hates when you efficiently do that. One memory of something he said that he forgot that he said that forces him into a boxed-in, inconsistent corner.
Damn.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Don Le Batard.
Michael Jordan never scored 70 in a game.
No, but he scored 60-something in a legendary playoff game that they won.
Stugotz.
They lost.
Did they really?
They lost. Yeah.
Wow. Breaking news.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Tim Kirkshin, does Ed Orgeron look like the small-town cop from the TV movie who says to the parents of a missing child, we've done all we could. We've turned that swamp upside down looking for that boy. It's all in God's hands now. Does Roger Goodell look like the manager at Outback Steakhouse who comes around and asks you how your experience has been?
You okay?
You okay?
Does Mike Tomlin... You okay?
I have a little cough, sorry.
You good?
All right. You good, though? All right.
You good? You good?
Tim, you good?
I'm good.
All right. Good.
All right.
Good.
You good?
Good.
Mike Tomlin, does he look like he's meeting his daughter's boyfriend for the first time?
You okay, Tim?
You good?
You good?
I went to the Little League World Series and I met one of the guys who sent in one of the lookalikes that actually ran on the show. So great.
Speaking of the Little League World Series, real quick, Tim, how many kids were taller than you or as tall as you?
Well, believe it or not, they actually did some research on this, and there were 114 kids at the Little League World Series that were my height or taller. 114.
Amazing.
I mean, does that cause you shame, or like, are you saying that with
It is
disgust?
what it is, man. I mean,
Look, I don't care. I'm happy with the way I look. This is it. Been this way my whole life, so I'm not about to complain that I'm really short. But it was odd that they would actually check on that. But so over half the players.
No, well, I burst out
my height
laughing
or
one
taller.
day. I'm watching. It's you and Adnan Verk, and both of the guys you had in the booth were bigger than you, than the two of you.
Yeah, we brought some big kids in. I mean, we had a kid there that was 6'1", 172, and we had a kid in the booth that was 5'11", 160 pounds. Those are big 12-year-olds.
Stugotz, do you realize that the ring girls were bigger than McGregor and Mayweather at the fight where they weighed in? The ring girls were substantively bigger than both of those guys. Yes.
No, I did not realize.
Yes,
That's amazing.
It was funny. Again, 786-456-4837 is the number if you want to talk to Tim Kirkshin. Jay, you're on with Kirkshin. Go ahead.
Tim, would an automated strike zone help the pitchers more or the hitters more?
I think it would help the hitters a little bit more. They're so overmatched when the pitchers are right. When a pitcher with this kind of stuff that we see every night locates, he cannot be hit when he does what he wants to do out there. The hitters need every bit of help they can get. So I think if they can somehow come up with a system that gets strikes called and balls called a little bit more accurately, I think that would help the hitters.
Does Vin Scully look like the kindly beloved company owner who dies 10 minutes in so that his ruthless son, Skip Bayless, can take over? Yeah. Jeff, you're on with Tim Kirkshin. Go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, Tom, what would be a good present to get my brother for his 5th wedding?
Well, who's your brother? What is he like?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Getting married, apparently.
Getting married.
Get him some good advice.
He's getting married for the 5th time.
Yes,
I see.
Yeah.
Get him a really good wife. That's what you should get him.
Okay?
Yeah, it sounds.
Yes, I have a little cough. I'm fine.
Okay,
Sorry.
Just trying to make sure.
Timmy, National League MVP.
Whoa, everyone calm down. Like, I don't
Just
think
relax.
that was necessary to just... Why did you scream at us that way? I've never seen this side of Tim Kirkshin. It's disturbing.
No, I was not screaming,
And you're
and
furious.
I'm fine.
You're clearly out of control. Can someone call HR, please? I didn't want to make this an incident, but now here we are. So can you guys call Human Resources on Tim Kirkshin? I'd like to file a formal complaint through all of Disney's most bureaucratic channels. Thank you. Brian, you're on.
I was in the middle of a question there.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Stugotz. Brian, you're on with Tim Kirkshin. Go ahead,
Tim's
Brian.
going to answer.
Hey, Tom, what's the most important thing that Conor McGregor can do to beat Floyd Mayweather? Thank you.
Oh, boy, I don't know anything about boxing. he's got to get really close to him and hit him as hard as he can in the midsection, because he's not going to hit him in the head, because Floyd Mayweather apparently never gets hit in the head. So I think he's going to have to just get close somehow and just pound away at his ribs. And I don't know anything about boxing or fighting.
That's great advice. That's a great breakdown for a guy who knows nothing about fighting, Tim. National League MVP, with the injuries to Bryce Harper and Bellinger. I know
Mike,
Paul Goldschmidt.
you're on ESPN Radio with Tim Kirchin. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Tom. Recently went on 3 dates with a beautiful girl. She then ghosted me. Want to know, what should I do next?
She what?
Ghosted. She disappeared. She disappeared. She ghosted. She disappeared.
She's gone.
Vanished.
Oh, she disappeared, and he wants to get her
I'm like
back?
Pokey Reese that one time. Does that help?
Well, why did she ghost you?
I mean, you've got follow-up questions. They had 3 great dates, and then he's confused by it. He doesn't understand why.
Well, you got to call her, then you got to go see her, and then you got to ask her the obvious question: why did you ghost me?
Or take the hint.
That's a good reason, then you got to stop doing that.
You can't call her or see her because she's ghosting you.
Yeah, she's avoiding him.
I know. Okay, but that's
so
still,
take the hint, dude.
No,
move on.
No, don't move on. I like Tim Kirchin's advice better. Stalker. This guy is a problem. This guy's a Disney problem. He's a plague. Like, we know this now, right? Like, I'm glad everyone's seen it, because it's only something that I've seen in the shadows all of these years, and so I'm glad it's finally out in the open. This Kirchin.
So, Timmy, National League MVP. So, Bellinger is out, and Bryce Harper, he's been
Chris,
injured. And I'm
you're
not
on
certain.
ESPN Radio with Tim Kirchin. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, Tim, just wondering about that NL wildcard race, and what do you think about the Rockies making it? Thanks.
Well, Dan, the Rockies are really good. They're going to. The Rockies are going to the playoffs. I still believe that. The Diamondbacks are going to the playoffs. I still believe that. And the American League second wild card, all 6, 7, 8 teams that are in it, they all have a shot at it, and none of them is good enough to just run away and take it. So we're going to the final weekend for the AL wild card for sure, and I think we're hoping for 2 play-in games so we can play all sorts of winner-take-all games at the beginning of October.
Guillermo, put it on the poll there. Me and Mike are disagreeing during the answer to that question. He thinks that Tim Kirchin didn't know what he was doing there when he said, Dan, the Rockies are really good.
No idea.
I think that he did know what he was doing there, that he was throwing our show a bone. Put it on the poll. Did Kirchin do that on purpose? Yes or no? And so what is the answer, Kirchin? Yes or no?
Of course I did that on purpose. This is a stupid show, and I was just trying to play.
That's my guy. That's my man.
So, speaking of the man, NL MVP, like I know, maybe...
John, you're on ESPN Radio with Tim Kirchin. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I was calling about who do you think's going to win the NL MVP?
Ah!
Chris, you're on you're on ESPN Radio with Tim Kirchin. Chris, go ahead.
The Braves fans are tired of rebuilding. Are we ever going to be good again, Tim?
Yeah, they're on the right track. It just takes a little bit longer when your best players are trying to learn how to play on the major league level. So it's not going to be 2018 that they turn the corner. It'll be 2019, but they know what they're doing there. They have young pitching stockpile. They have position players, but it's a really hard game to play, and it just takes a while to figure it out.
All right, Tim, AL MVP. Now, Trout got hurt. There's a bunch of...
Anders, you're on ESPN Radio, Anders, with Tim Kirchin. Go ahead, Anders.
Oh, hey, Tom. Yeah, so are you good? Because I don't think I am. I've been sick for over a month now, and I want to know what I should do next.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'm not sick. There's a difference between having a cough and sounding stupid on the radio and missing work or something else. I'm
Just not
sick.
necessary to yell at everybody this way, Tim. It's not necessary for you to lose your cool in professional settings and continue to lash out at employees like you've been doing during a decade or more of tyranny at this network.
Okay, I never get sick. I never miss work.
But
There's
please
a difference.
stop shouting at me.
You're making me
Please.
uncomfortable.
You're making everybody here uncomfortable. We're not this kind of comfortable with confrontation. Can you please stop it?
You interrupt Stugotz like 50 times today.
Please stop yelling at us, Tim. It's been abusive for too long, and it's just not a good look for you. Thank you. Does Joe West look like the customer at a restaurant who, when ordering a steak, smugly tells the waiter, and I want to hear it moo? Does Ben McAdoo look like the distraught, unpleased man with his arms crossed and foot tapping, asking the 17-year-old ticket attendant if he can please hurry up with filling the skee ball machine with tickets because he's just about to catch fire? Does Gar Foreman look like the business executive who, when the villain is about to kill the entire executive board, says, "You will never get away with this"? Does Carl Ravitch look like the guy in the bathroom who pretends to be on his phone to avoid washing his hands and tipping the bathroom valet? No? You don't like that one?
Still laughing at Gar Foreman.
Does Jay Cutler look like the guy who sleeps with your girlfriend, then casually tells you about it like it's not a big deal? Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. All right, thank you, Tim. Always good catching
Aaron
up with
Judge,
you.
or maybe Jose Altuve.
See you later, Tim.
Or,
See you later, Tim. Good talking to you. Yeah. Get better, man.
Yeah,
Nothing in life is free. Time for some ads.
And please get that rage problem under control. Good God, it's uncomfortable every time. Every week, it's like having Richie Incognito in your life.
Don Le Batard.
Yanni Adebabubu.
Stugotz.
Giannis Adebabumbumbo.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Carrot Top going to join us in about 12 minutes. Get in touch with the show anytime to the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed at Le Batard Show at Stugotz790. Dan, it's time for Straight Talk. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts.
Carrot Top is coming on with us because yesterday the show ended. He started to tell us a story about Mike Tyson punching him 6 years ago, and we had follow-up questions, but we were at a show, so Tim Kirkshin will be here in 10 minutes. Texter writes in here, not Tim Kirkshin. Carrot Top will be here.
Kirkshin was just here.
Thank you.
Yep.
Carrot Top will be here in 10 minutes. Tim Kirkshin was just with us.
That's Dan aging, which is a nice reminder to promote Dan Mistake, a new category in our Suey Awards. It'll be later today. It's our best
I was
picture.
wondering why it is I didn't have anything in the prediction category, and it's probably because all my bad predictions are in the mistake category. No?
No, that's not necessarily what Dan Mistake is.
Yeah.
It's like porn.
Well, hold on a
you know
second.
it when you hear it.
Let's examine this for a second, though. Were you hurt that you didn't have any predictions? You don't make a ton of predictions.
I wasn't hurt. I was just hurt. Why would I be hurt?
It seemed like you were hurt.
That my wrong predictions.
It seems like it's been weighing on your mind. I mean, we played it a while ago.
I was wondering whether I was being protected by somebody.
No, you just never make bad predictions.
There you go. That's actually the answer I was looking for. Texter writes in, "Hey Dan, Tim Kirkshin is a baseball insider. Don't you think it's kind of rude to not let Stugotz get in his NL and AL MVP question?"
You don't get the show.
So earlier in the show, Stugotz was railing against LaShawn McCoy, telling LaShawn McCoy that if he thinks that Colin Kaepernick is such a distraction, and LaShawn McCoy has said that he's such a distraction that his talent does not outweigh his distraction. And while you can yell at LaShawn McCoy if you want about that, he is giving voice to what's happening in that league, which is he's not getting a job because people don't think he's good enough to overcome the distraction. That's how they would file it for you. That's not what people on the outside necessarily believe.
Right.
That's how the NFL would file it for you.
Oh, I have no issue with LaShawn McCoy saying it. I'm just, by saying it, you probably created a bigger distraction than if Colin Kaepernick were actually on your team. I don't have an issue with it.
Well, let me ask you this. Yeah, because there aren't a lot of players giving voice to that kind of sentiment. But I don't think he's necessarily wrong. I do think what we're going to end up finding out, though, is that once the desperation arrives and a good team loses a starting quarterback that believes they have a chance for win now,
right?
That's where if that's what the chance is going to look like if he gets one at this point.
Sure.
But I want to ask you this question. The Daily Beast did a story the other day, and in it was contained some of that talk that you've heard about ESPN being too liberal and ESPN having a reputation of running off listeners and viewers because ESPN is too liberal. And as people hijack politics and storylines, this has become something that people are talking about, even though what's really happened at ESPN is simply that minorities have gotten more of a voice. And so in doing so, giving minorities more of a voice, there are more people on the network that maybe you don't like who are opinionated. Me, Bomani, Jamel Hill, Michael Smith, Stephen A. Smith, whoever it is that you think.
Not me.
Not you. You're very likable. You're beloved. But what I want to ask you, though, is when it comes to Kaepernick, I do believe that people think that ESPN has a pro-Kaepernick agenda. When people accuse...
Oh, I have no doubt that people think that.
Okay, but this is what I want to ask you, because this is the story in the Daily Beast, and it was interesting to see this put together, because I had not seen it. If ESPN is indeed liberal, like some of you believe, even though no one's ever told us how to talk or think about things here, what do you do with this? From the Daily Beast. While many prominent ESPN personalities have praised Kaepernick's now shuttered protest, the network has not treated him like he's the Rosa Parks of football or a modern-day Nelson Mandela, as Clay Travis has written. Steve Young called his actions thoughtful. NFL analyst Trent Dilfer even resoundingly criticized Kaepernick, describing the protest as selfish. Will Cain said, "Let's not act like he's this virtuous guy." Stephen A. Smith pilloried Kaepernick for declining to vote in the 2016 presidential election, calling him a flaming hypocrite and absolutely irrelevant. Smith also lambasted Kaepernick for wearing a T-shirt depicting Fidel Castro's meeting with Malcolm X, calling it dumb and saying it rendered much of Kaepernick's activism invalid, as did Dan Le Batard, whose parents fled Cuba. Le Batard called Kaepernick a dope before adding that it was possible to be supportive of Kaepernick's anthem protest and still criticize the shirt. My question to you is, if you accuse ESPN of being liberal-leaning, like, what do you do with all of that I just read to you, where it's...
You rethink your position that you had on ESPN and its liberal-leanings.
No, you do not.
Why?
No, you do not.
Why do you not?
Because this isn't about rethinking positions. Nobody's rethinking their positions on Colin Kaepernick. What's happened here when it comes to this particular subject of Kaepernick and also liberal leanings is that they get hijacked and people just entrench themselves and then nobody moves. Nobody moves. But what I'm saying is I hadn't seen it put that way. All of those things are things said on ESPN's network about Colin Kaepernick.
Right. Well, you got a guy, Clay Travis, who's, he's got...
What are you laughing about back there, Roy?
Right. That was your reaction to that
question? So he didn't give me a lot? He didn't give me a lot?
He didn't like my initial response.
Next.
Don Batard.
The percentage of the time that Charlie Weiss is showering with
Charlie
Jewel,
Whitehurst. Charlie Weiss can only shower by himself.
Stugotz.
I created a terrible visual for the audience of Charlie Weiss showering. And you said Charlie Weiss can only shower by himself. It's one of the best jokes Stugotz has ever delivered.
He's a loofah guy, probably.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Carrot Top expected to join us here in just a minute on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. It's early in Vegas, man. Clemson University and head football coach Dabo Swinney have agreed to a new 8-year contract through 2024. It's worth $54 million, making him the highest paid coach in the ACC and third highest nationally. And finally, Quartz reports, after analyzing stool samples from athletes participating in the 2015 Boston Marathon and the 2016 Summer Olympics, the researchers found higher concentrations of two types of gut bacteria, one that helps degrade lactic acid, an exercise byproduct, and another that may play a role in breaking down carbohydrates, critical during the long runs. Reporting this week at the American Chemical Society's annual meeting in Washington, D.C., the team says those bacteria and others could make even non-athletes better able to endure long periods of exercise. That's right. Pretty soon, we're going to have to test athletes for poop. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Getting a lot of people writing in because they love this subject. They love the subject of, is ESPN liberal? And I'm just telling you, as someone who has worked here for a good amount of time, that I have never been told how to think on a certain thing. So if you believe the company is liberal, you're believing that they're purposely hiring me because I am liberal, even though I've never had any conversation with anybody about this. because you believe me to be liberal. So you are entrenched on this viewpoint, but you don't have as much information as I do on how this company works and who it is that gets hired and why it is that they get hired. And ultimately, the people who are promoting all of these minorities in this company, it's damn long overdue in this country and in the company to have voices climb who are diverse. And you don't like it. That's what the main objection is, that you don't like that the voices are expressing minority opinions, because the most objectionable personalities on ESPN to you are all minorities, all of them. The list is all minorities. So that's what's happening, is the minorities are getting a greater voice. It's not that liberal leanings are getting more rewards here at the company.
But you say you're armed with more information, and I think once you're entrenched on something like this and you believe it, it doesn't matter what you say.
Well, no, but
it doesn't matter what anyone's
that's where we
say.
are. What you're going to get is very few facts on this subject. You're going to get very few facts. You're going to get a belief, and it's very hard for me to argue against the belief if you're not going to move it when facts make an appearance. Like if facts are making an appearance and you're just like, nah, don't care. This is what I believe. Okay, good talk. This is what you believe about the company. That's fine. And that Pablo Bomani show is going to be a monster. Like, it's going to be the best thing that we've seen in sports. Like, the smartest thing that we've seen in sports. Whether it's successful or not, however it is that you do the measurements, I don't know. But that thing is going to be good because they're the futuristic gas bags. Like, they're the next model. They are the future. Those two guys. It looks like that and it sounds like that. And that's the future of this company. So.
Them and me, of course, right?
That's what I meant.
Yeah. What are we, the present? Are we, where are we?
We're on a decline.
Yeah,
We're
back nine?
Yeah, back nine. Yeah. Where do you think we're somewhere else?
I think I'm on the rise. I don't know where, me just personally, I feel like I'm on the rise.
You are on the rise, but the rest of us are holding you down. Like, we're anchors.
Oh, no. You're definitely not holding me down. You brought me here.
But now you need to fly free. Now you need to soar. I brought you here, but if you love something, you got to let it go. Yeah. You got to throw Stugotz into the air. If you're just joining us early in the show.
Well, what happens if you throw me in the air and I don't flourish without you?
Soar, baby bird.
Well, am I allowed to come home is what I'm asking.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a fair question, right?
I mean, it is fair, but it also.
Because I let you come home.
Fly without fear, though. You gotta fly. You gotta.
Well, you know me. I mean, I'm incapable of flying by myself without any fear.
You decided that already?
Yeah, I mean, come on. I'd be terrified.
If you're just joining us, Stugotz, because he is a virus infecting every artery of this liberal machine, propaganda machine that is ESPN, Stugotz was infecting poor Mike and Mike's show, or Mike and Booger's show. It was Greenberg and Booger McFarland. And
Mike and McFarland.
Thank you. Much better.
M&M's.
You got a future in this. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Mike and McFarland. Stugotz was infecting their show while they talked to DeMaurice Smith, and that subject matter can be tricky to make both entertaining and digestible. And Stugotz is just peppering the both of them with personal texts because he wants to be doing a personal show for everybody at this company.
Right.
And he wants to be talking and giving his opinions to anyone who will hear them.
I was just trying to help guys out. It seemed like they were struggling with a couple of conversations. They were trying to figure out what LeBron James meant with all the tweets he sent yesterday about the burning jersey, and I just told Greeny exactly what he meant. And what he meant was, Cleveland fans, when I leave you in a year, don't you dare do it to me again. That's what he was doing. So I was just helping Greeny out there, and then I was trying to help Booger McFarland out because DeMaurice Smith came on, and he was just, it was an embarrassment, to be honest with you. He was condescending, D. Smith. He was condescending to Booger McFarland, who asked a very fair question about a guy who wants to take DeMaurice Smith's job in about a year and a half. And I just told Booger, man, that was condescending on so many different levels. He should have more respect for you. You're a former player in the NFL and a really good player at that. And D. Smith was just being condescending and complaining about every single bad thing that the players have. And D, I'm sorry, you can't complain about things that you agreed to, that you yourself negotiated, that you were in charge of. And I wanted Booger to say that to him, and he didn't. So I'm saying it now for Booger. That's what I'm doing. I'm cleaning up the mess for Booger. You're welcome, Boog. My man, Booger. You agree with me, right? And Booger responded to me with all kinds of great takes on DeMaurice Smith. I just wish I had heard them on the air. because it would have been perfect. And that Greeny is trying to make up excuses, crank up the excuse machine for DeMaurice Smith, and I was telling Booger there are no excuses. He's the guy in charge. That's it. You can't complain about things that you yourself negotiated. That's absurd. That's a terrible job.
Again, I asked the question, Mike, who would we be as a show okay with peppering us with a private show like that every time they were listening and they wanted our attention? What Stugotz does there, beyond being unprofessional, filed as friendly and helpful, is not something that I believe he would abide if somebody were doing it to us. If right now somebody were texting us on how it is that you could be doing a better job right now.
The guys didn't seem to mind. I mean, Greeny wrote back funny to me.
A one-word response?
He wrote back funny. He did it after the show, not, right when I sent it. He actually, no, 2 words. That's funny. And Booger sent me the crying face emoji.
So an emoji and 2 words.
Yeah.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
They didn't like that.
Yeah. I mean, Mort does it to me sometimes.
A texter writes in, Dan, every time you bleeping get defensive of yourself, you start to ruin the show. Stop being so bleeping defensive. I'm not defending myself. Like, if you want to believe me to be liberal, I understand how it is that you come upon that viewpoint. I can be bleeding heart. I try to extend empathy to people. I don't care about politics at all, but I tend to, be anti-repression as it comes to this particular space where sports people behave and entertain us. But I'm not being defensive on behalf of me, and I'm not being someone who's hesitant at all to criticize this company when I believe it deserves criticism. I don't think you'll find very many people who do that more than I do here. Like, I'm totally good with saying when I think this company's in the wrong. But what I'm telling you is, if you believe this company to have a liberal agenda by order or edict, you're simply wrong, is all I can tell you. You're simply wrong. Factually wrong. But, okay, if you want to keep believing it, you can keep believing it. But I don't know who you think I'd be. The only thing I'm defending here is what I believe to be the facts and the truth. I'm not defending me, and I really don't have any incentive to defend the company. When the company does wrong, I tell you it's done wrong, despite the way they pay me. And when the company's done right, I tell you when I feel like they've done right. So, like, I may sound defensive, but I don't know what it is that you believe me to be defending. A way of thought? I mean, I don't. Well,
people would say, like, why do you feel the need to explain this? It feels there has to be a reason and need for you to
because
explain.
I want to correct what I believe to be factually inaccurate.
And I'm good with that. I'm like, when they say you're being defensive, maybe it comes off to them as defensive. Okay. Just the mere fact that you're explaining it.
Okay, but it's not my politics showing, is what I'm telling you. If you're
Right.
filing this criticism at me, it's yours.
Oh, 100%.
It's your politics are showing.
Yes. I mean, by objecting to you just explaining the facts,
Boring.
yes. Yeah.
I agree with that.
Dan Le Batard.
White people mad? Try to get me fired. Go ahead. Get petitions together.
Stugotz.
Come on, white people. Oppressed white people. Rise up. Form a union. Gather around. You can be united on something. It's mad at me.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Rosie Perez going to join us in a half hour, 12:30 Eastern, on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. She's a boxing expert. Here's your SportsCenter update. Manu Ginobili will be returning to the Spurs. The team announced Thursday. Ginobili, who will be entering his 16th season with the team, reportedly signed a 2-year, $5 million deal to return to the team. He's been saying he's going to retire for like the last 5 years. 2 more years of Ginobili. Cristiano Ronaldo has been named as the UEFA Player of the Year. UEFA Player of the Year. I didn't ask. I thought it was UEFA. Everyone thinks it's UEFA.
No one thinks it's UEFA.
UEFA Player of the Year after he helped Real Madrid win the Champions League for the second successive time last season. Sure about that? I think it's UEFA.
You should have called it Real Madrid.
You might want to check on it. And finally, a headstone with the inscription, "You will never be forgotten," was left behind at the Dublin airport and still hasn't been claimed. For all the latest headlines and information, tune to the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
I'll give you a company criticism. You want a company criticism as you claim that I'm a company man?
Go ahead.
Something that ESPN does wrong. When one of its own people gets in trouble, it protects them. And we don't do that for athletes in terms of a conversational topic. And I think that that's wrong. I don't think that that's something that ESPN should be doing. If we're going to rain down judgment on the athletes, we should be held to the same standard. Anywho, so I make mistakes around here. That may have been one of them right there. Let's get into the biggest mistakes I've made over the last year.
God.
And now, the suing nominees for worst mistake made by Dan. Dan calls Tim Comerford, Steve Comerford.
We did this before with Steve Comerford, right?
Tim Comerford of Rage Against the Machine.
That's a fine, I believe, right?
Dan calls Charlie Whitehurst. Charlie Weiss.
The percentage of the time that Charlie Weiss is showering with
Charlie Whitehurst.
Charlie Whitehurst.
Charlie Weiss.
I don't know.
Wow,
he's
that
doing it by himself.
Charlie Weiss can only shower by himself.
I created a terrible visual for the audience of Charlie Weiss showering, which is just wrong. Like, it's just wrong. And you said Charlie Weiss can only shower by himself. It's one of the best jokes Stugotz has ever delivered.
Dan calls Tony Soprano, Tony Sperano.
Didn't they lose by 1,000,000 points to Ohio State, too? They missed Greg Schiano. Greg Schiano had James Gandolfini out there recruiting for him. Tony Sperano at the height of Sperano's fame.
Did you make an HBO show based on a former Miami Dolphins head coach?
That one happens to me all the time.
Dan calls Jerry Cooney, George Clooney.
Have you guys heard the expression "Great White Hope"? Do you guys know who George Clooney is, or how much bigger the heavyweight division would be in boxing if there was somehow a menacing guy who was also white?
I know George Clooney.
Dan thinks Amanda Nunez has domestic violence in her past.
Oh, no.
Nunez, it's not just that she's gay. She's dating another fighter. Doesn't she have domestic abuse issues in her home because she's dating another fighter and the police are being called to their house because she's fighting another fighter who she's also dating? I'm being a little bit reckless here because I don't know if I have my facts straight.
Dan calls Tyrann Mathieu, Walter Matthau.
What was the saying that Tyrann Mathieu said? Honey Badger don't care?
Matthew.
Although Walter Matthau and Tyrann Mathieu crossbreeding truly is a spectacular hypothetical human
Trophy
being.
finalist Walter Matthau.
I made Walter Matthau a cornerback for the Arizona Cardinals. I want you to imagine him backpedaling. Is he still with us?
No.
He died a while ago.
He died on July 1st, 2000.
That is a hole in the Cardinals secondary. They have got somebody who's been dead for 16 years back there. It's like having Antonio Cromartie.
Dan calls Mufasa from the Lion King, Mustafa.
A lot of people are writing in with Mustafa. That Mustafa is not even an animal; it's a cartoon animal.
Right.
It's not even a real animal.
Wait, you're saying Mufasa?
Mufasa. I'm sorry. Yeah. Who's Mustafa?
Really
affected.
Oh my! I didn't even catch that.
Who is Mustafa?
Wow.
Who is Mustafa?
I'm not sure who Mustafa is.
Okay.
Dan.
Mufasa. Man, I am getting so old with these names.
Dan calls Bob Schaefer. Bob Schaefer.
Oh, Scott Pelley was doing it. He just seemed tired, worn down by the day's event. Kept taking off his glasses and rubbing his face. He might have just been tired of Schaefer, just doddering Schaefer. Is that the guy's name? I just was half listening to him, and all he did was get in everybody's way.
Is it Schaefer or Scheffer?
I think it's Schaefer.
I might be getting it wrong.
I've never heard Schaefer.
I don't know. Forgive me. It's just a doddering white-haired person who just got in everyone's way.
Dan calls Chris Matthews. Chris Wallace.
It reminded me of Gary Johnson the other day, the Libertarian presidential candidate, when he was asked by Chris Wallace, God bless him, kept pressing him
Chris
on
Matthews.
Chris Matthews. Excuse me, that's me getting names wrong.
Did you make him Notorious B.I.G.?
I know, my bad.
Dan thinks Wagon Wheel is a group, not the song.
Let's go ahead and play some of this for him. Let's go ahead and sing. What are you choosing, Mike? What are you choosing from Wagon Wheel?
The song?
Okay.
The song, the name of the song is
I thought it was the group.
It's by Darius Rucker.
My bad. Darius Rucker.
Say that's fun, by the way. That's fun. Yeah.
Dan calls Jake Long, Chris Long, then thinks they're brothers.
The Dolphins drafted Tunsil, played him at guard. let go of Brandon Albert, who was bought to replace Chris Long, who was taken with the number one. Up. Damn it.
Jake Long.
Damn it.
It's all right, man.
Cost me $1. It's been a while.
That's pretty egregious. I don't know. Should have just
It's his brother. Well, how is that egregious?
That's super egregious because they are not related.
Wow. That's a $5 fine right there.
Okay.
Right out of the gates.
Chris Long?
You confused Chris Long
and
with
Howie,
the offensive lineman from Chicago. That's actually his brother.
So the correction made it worse. I should have just shut up.
Dan confuses Deion Waiters and Deion Sanders.
None of them play that near the rim. And I understand that he's big, but an ankle never gets sprained in a way that Deion Sanders, the Miami Heat's season was ruined by an ankle sprain.
Dan asked Deion Sanders about the sex addiction he doesn't have.
I think we've talked to you before briefly. I don't know how. At one point, you had gone public saying you had a sex addiction, right?
No.
Okay.
No, that wasn't me. That was another guy. Ain't no sex addiction. I love sex just as much as you love sex. Ain't no addiction. You like I'm a sexaholic or something? You try to get a confession out of me.
I feel like I've talked to you about that before.
No, that wasn't me. That was the other Sanders. That wasn't me. That wasn't me.
I don't know. I'm going to have to look this up. Again,
no, who told you that? Deion Warwick told you that? Deion Sanders ain't tell you that.
Deion is with us.
Sex addiction.
I don't think other Sanders
let's
that was
dispel that rumor right now. That's a vicious rumor, and it's a lie. I like sex just as much as the next man or woman.
Dan calls Blink 182 Blink 192.
The Bahamas is actually the perfect place for Ja Rule to run a scam festival. Because I could see you thinking, oh, beautiful islands. Blink 192. Migo.
That's a fine.
Oh, Blink 182. Ah, bleep it. Do I get fined for that?
Yes, you do.
Yes, you get fined.
I thought they were names of people, not
just
bands.
Names in general. I mean, come on.
Blink 192.
I know. I made it 192. That's funny.
You put this in place, man. You know what? I still owe $1 from
No,
last week.
wait a minute.
No,
from last week.
Hold on.
That should be more than $1, Dan.
Better year, Dano. Better year. Great
Thank you, everybody. I'd like to thank everybody.
Great year.
On a great year.
Man, Deion Sanders handled that so well.
He really did. It just had me giggle snorting. That is profoundly sad.
Oh, man.
That is me looking in the mirror and my mortality looking back at me. That's just something an incredibly old person does. That I feel like we could diagnose that as early onset professional Alzheimer's. Like that's the first symptom.
It's Alzheimer's.
What I call it?
Alzheimer's.
Al. So wait a minute. It doesn't belong to a guy named Al. His full name is Alzheimer.
Alzheimer?
No. It's not possessive. There's not an apostrophe in there near the Z. Al apostrophe Z Heimer. All right. Good talk.
Dan Le Batard.
Is there anyone, Serge, who refers to you by your full name?
No, I don't think so.
Can you tell the audience what your full name is?
Ibaka, Ngubila, Serge, and Jonas.
Stugotz.
Isn't your full name 10 words? Serge Abulo, Lamu, Sayon?
No, that's not true. That's not my name.
Okay. I'm sorry I made that so awkward for you. Hell of a day we're finishing.
Yeah, it's okay.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
If you missed any of the show, you can listen to all 3 hours of the Dan Le Batard Show on demand in the ESPN app, plus our Miami-only hour that airs before the show, and now you can subscribe to our Best of Podcasts. It's all available in the Listen tab of the ESPN app. Dan, it is time to pump the brakes. It is brought to you by Advanced Auto Parts. Can we pump the brake on Major League Baseball, allowing players to police themselves? They had a big brawl yesterday, Tigers and Yankees. I'm serious. I'm getting tired of this. We are allowing grown men to hold a very hard object that they could throw over 100 miles per hour, and they're allowing them to police themselves by throwing it at each other, throwing it at guys' heads. And I'm telling you, Rob Manfred, this is all on you, Because if you had any interest in making this go away, you would make it go away. But you don't have any interest in making it go away because it's the only time we talk about your lame sport in July, June, and August. And so can we pump the brakes on allowing guys to do this? Because it's dangerous and someone's going to get hurt. And only after someone gets seriously hurt are we going to change the rules. And I'm telling you, eventually someone's going to get severely hurt. Needs to come to an end. It's brought to you by Advance Auto Parts. No one knows cars like the professionals at Advance Auto Parts. So the next time you need help finding the right tools or parts to your car, stop by. We'll be ready to help. Advance Auto Parts. Let's get you back on the road.
Mike, help me navigate this, please. Rosie Perez is going to join us in 10 minutes. I don't know if you remember Rosie Perez. She was Woody Harrelson's love interest in White Man Can't Jump.
Yep.
She was in Spike Lee movies. And so we're going to talk to Rosie Perez as our boxing analyst as we head into the fight this weekend.
More recently, she was in Pineapple Express, had a big role in that film. She is a huge boxing expert. This isn't a gag like the mystery guest rapid fire roundtable that we did. I know it might seem random, but she loves boxing, and she's got a great voice.
Yeah, I look forward to talking to her, but that's not what I need help with. What I need help with, she's going to join us in 10 minutes. Stugotz was just asking me, can I buy the fight right up until the last minute? That's dangerous because you don't know if something's going to go wrong and then you'll miss the fight because you didn't order it, but you can order it right until the last minute. He doesn't want to fall asleep before ordering it, and he's afraid it's going to go off at midnight.
Well, that's my fear. My fear is I order it today, and then, Saturday night rolls around. I got the Sunday morning show to do on ESPN radio that I'm going to be exhausted and not stay up for it. So I'm going to pay for it and then not stay up for the fight. That's my fear.
Most providers allow you to even order something while it's in progress. Now, some you may have to call, but some outlets like DirecTV, you can just do it through the television as it's going.
But Dan's point is a good one, Mike, where maybe there's so many people watching or there are technical difficulties and, I'm trying to buy it and I can't.
Right, that's the only danger in waiting until the last second, that something goes wrong at the last minute, you just miss the fight. Otherwise, do it earlier. But the thing that I need some help navigating on here is, and let me preface this by saying that I have very few disputes in my history with anybody that I've ever worked with. But one of the first ones I ever had, and the loudest and the worst one, was with the former president of ESPN back when I was just sort of a part-time employee doing a Sunday morning show. I've told you this story before. He called in the middle of a show. They had just suspended, I think it was Bob Ryan for something. And it was actually, it was a Joanna Kidd comment about slapping her. It was back before we got to the place that we are now with domestic abuse. And so I wanted to talk about it. And this president of the company calls in and tells me I won't be talking about it, and just scares all the producers, all the board ops, everybody, because it's the president of the company. And we got into a screaming match because I called him after the show, and I requested that he not do that during a show.
Right.
Because it threw everybody off and ruined everything. And his first thing out of his mouth after that was, if you don't like it, you could work somewhere else. And so then I just went off on him, and we got into an argument where I'm like, really, that's how you deal with problems? That's how you manage people? That's how you do business? If you don't like it, work somewhere else. So anyway, this has been a beef of mine since this started. The idea that ESPN should be covered the way it covers others. ESPN should be covered like a sports team. ESPN allowed other places to make an appearance like Deadspin, like what Fox is trying now as a last desperate attempt, where they're sending all their jackals out onto, all these television outlets to lament the demise of ESPN because it's they're throwing a last Hail Mary here.
Using a journalistic arm with a clear agenda.
Right. Well, and what I'm saying is, though, ESPN allows the opening by not talking about very many of its own issues. And so I say that all as preface to, if I get in trouble, I understand and appreciate that the company would want to protect me. But if I get in trouble, I deserve whatever it is that's coming next, because that's how we treat athletes. And I believe we should be held to the same standard, that if it's good enough for us to...
You're saying you would want ESPN to talk about it?
I'm saying, no, I wouldn't want it. I'm saying that would be fair.
Okay.
I'm not saying, of course I wouldn't want it. Right. I would want ESPN to protect me if I got into some trouble. But that's not fair. ESPN rains down judgment on the athlete who is a celebrity when he gets in trouble or misbehaves, and I just believe we should cover ourselves the way we cover others.
I think what you're saying is fair. It's also ESPN's job, though. It's many people at this network's jobs to rain down judgment, to form opinions, to make opinions.
I know, but
people.
we shouldn't be exempt. What I'm saying is you and me shouldn't be immune just because we work for the company.
Right.
It's an inconsistency to me that does. I don't blame people for not abiding it.
I'd like to be immune.
Yeah, I don't. But if we're
very few wouldn't.
Yeah, I'd like it too, but it's not fair. And so, I'm not wishing ill on anybody. But I disagree with the company's policy on this, even though it's an exceedingly human policy. I just don't think that we should be the only ones entitled to this power of throwing this around. And it makes us feel journalistically like we're allowing for a huge conflict of interest by not covering ESPN the way that ESPN covers others.
Well, you know what they say about fair.
Fair is a place where they judge pigs.
That is what they say about fair. Very good.
Don Le Batard.
The origins of this term come from the military, Dan. The literal sense of the term, that is a day spent in field maneuvers, is now little used.
Stugotz.
The first reference we have for that meaning is from 1747 in Scheme, a Quick Men of War. These periodical
wait a minute,
interviews.
let me just stop you.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Rosie Perez going to join us in just a second on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Going to break down the fight for us this weekend. Here's your SportsCenter update. Manu Ginobili will be returning to the Spurs. The team announced Thursday. Ginobili, who will be entering his 16th season with the team, reportedly signed a 2-year, $5 million deal to return to San Antonio. Cristiano Ronaldo has been named as the UEFA Player of the Year after he helped Real Madrid win the Champions League for a second successive time last season. And finally, a recent survey of 5,267 members of the British public has discovered that 2/3 of 18 to 25-year-olds think that filibustering is slang for a sex act. It's not. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
It is a word that sounds like
it?
that. Filibustering does sound like it could be a sex act. Yeah, put it up on the poll, please, Guillermo, at Le Batard Show. Text to right 10. You could get fairness, equality, and diversity at the cemetery. Way to go. All right, let's all wait for that. Man, Jason Isbell wrote it. He said, when it comes to equality, basically, there's no such thing as somebody else's fight. Why do you guys do this when it comes to equality? Equality should be everybody's fight. Another guy writes in, what the heck, Dan? Jim Rome has Dana White to break down the fight. Who you got? We got better.
Yep.
We got better than Dana White.
We sure did.
Rosie Perez. This is a signature scene. Her scene at the beginning of Do the Right Thing. Thank you, Rosie, for making time for us. She really knows boxing. She loves boxing. But that scene, you remember the scene I'm talking about, right? I don't know. Did you know, Rosie, that when you were doing that scene was that sexy? That it was 4 minutes of you doing boxing. Were you aware while you were doing it? Thank you for making time for us. That the scene was incredibly sexy.
No. I had absolutely no idea because I was exhausted. I had to do that take after take for 8 hours. I was so pissed off at Spike Lee. I wanted to just punch him with one of those.
Wow.
Give him a straight, clean right.
So it was 8 hours of doing that, and while you were doing it, you were just tired, and you're like, I can't do this anymore. You didn't know that the whole thing was pulsating sexuality.
No.
Right, very good. What can you tell us? What can you tell us about Do the Right Thing that maybe people don't know? Is there any story that you have that is a secret within the community, but others outside might be they might want to know?
Well, initially that opening sequence was supposed to be the song was supposed to be "Cool Jerk" by Sam. I believe it's Sam and Dave. And we had rehearsed, and Spike had brought in a choreographer. We had rehearsed for weeks, and at the last minute, Spike came in to watch the rehearsal, and he said, "This is all wrong. I'll be right back." And he left, and he came back, and he said, "All right, I just talked to Chuck D. They're going to make a new song, and it's going to be hip-hop. It's going to be better. This is going to be better." So I literally only had 2 days to come up with a dance routine because the choreographer was not a hip-hop choreographer. And so it was all very, very rushed. And I had only listened to the song in its entirety for one day.
Wow.
So that was
Wait a minute.
crazy.
I did not know that. So wait a minute. Did Chuck D. Wright fight the power for that scene?
Yes, he did.
Wow. I did not know that. I had no idea that was so for that scene. That's fascinating. Rosie Perez with us here on ESPN Radio. Since we're at it, and we will talk boxing with you, but instead of do the right thing, White Men Can't Jump. I'm sure people are always asking you about that. Is there anything that memorable? What do you remember most from the making of that movie?
There was a lot of weed.
Well, Woody was in the movie. So.
What a great answer. Okay, that's what. And so you don't remember much at all, really? Like just that there was a lot of weed.
No, I mean, there was a lot of weed. There was out of two certain actors' trailers. Come lunchtime, you saw like just smoke coming out of the top of their trailers. It was hilarious. It was just like craziness. But that was the most fun I've ever had on a project. It was really a lot of fun, and maybe because certain actors were completely high.
Did you have any idea that either one of those two movies were going to be, your wildest dream had those two movies being how successful?
I knew that Do the Right Thing was going to be very controversial, but I didn't understand the magnitude of the film. So I was very surprised how big it had become. In White Man Can't Jump, I had absolutely no idea whatsoever that it was going to be an American classic. The only person that did understand that was Wesley Snipes. The first day of filming, he comes over to me and he says, this is going to be big. I said, no, it's not. He said, this is going to be big. Trust me. If I was a betting man, I would bet you $100 million that this is going to be huge. And he was right.
Yeah, he was right. You were friends with Tupac, right? You were. I've read some stories about you and he. He was comforting to you in times of heartbreak. Yes.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. God rest his soul. He was a great friend. I was on my way to the Soul Train Music Awards, and I had a date. This rapper, and he will remain forever nameless. I'm dressed. I'm ready. I look cute. And I get a phone call. I said, hey, where are you? Are you close? He says, I'm not going. I can't show up with you to that event and be on television because my girlfriend will get upset. And I was devastated. Next phone call, I hung up on him. The phone rings. I think it's him again, and it's Tupac. And he's like, man, I wish I could go with you with Soul Train. I said, I'm not going. He goes, what's wrong? And I just started crying. And I said, I've never been dissed by a man. I am just in shock. And he goes, get over it, girl. We're going to roll up in there. We're going to make that man so jealous. Yo, we're going to just blow it out. Come on. I'm jumping in my ride. I'm going to be at your house in just 5 minutes. And he was at my house in 5 minutes, and we went to Soul Train together, and it was crazy. It was crazy. He was great. And he ended up talking to that particular rapper and told him off, too, in addition to that.
Rosie, it's a very cool story, very nice thing of Tupac to do, but didn't he sleep with Madonna that night or hook up with her that same night?
That night?
I don't know if they slept together that night, but I hooked them up that night, yes.
Oh, you hooked them up?
Oh, you hooked them up?
Yes. When Madonna saw me with it, first of all, almost every single girl in the music industry wanted to fight me because I was with Tupac. They had misunderstood. We were just friends. We were just play acting as if we were a couple. And when I saw the response, I was like, oh, my God. I was like, this is crazy. He goes, you could take them. You could take them all. Oh, my gosh. And so when Madonna came up to me, I'm thinking, oh, not you too. And she said, are you two an item? I said, no, we're still just friends. This is just for show to make somebody jealous. And she goes, oh, okay, well, hook me up. And I said, okay.
All right.
And I hooked them up. And that was it.
So great.
Rosie, let me clue you in. They slept together.
Okay, very good. No, Tupac was he was respecting the situation. Rosie, is there any particular reason that, and I love you and love your work, and I say this to butter you up, is there any particular reason that the rapper has to remain nameless? I think after all of these years, the statute of limitations is up, and it's fine if you want to keep it nameless, but I would really be delighted if you decided to tell us.
Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but I'm not going to tell you.
Oh.
because his girlfriend at the time, she's now a fairly successful actress, and she and I are friends. So I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to do that to her or to the rapper because he and I are friends now too.
Okay. Dad, I got to give you credit there. You asked that, and I thought you had her. You asked it in such a nice, cute, adorable way.
This is what we're going to do. At the end, you guys are going to, based on the information she just gave us, we're going to shout one name at her at the end of this, and maybe her giggle will give it away. Otherwise, we're going to just respect her wishes and keep it dignified around here. But we're going to shout one name at her at the very end of this interview. Now, the fight this weekend. Rosie Perez thinks this is a fiasco, or Rosie Perez thinks that this is something worth watching?
I think both. I do. I think that it's a spectacle, it's a fiasco, it's crazy, but I also think that everyone who says they're not going to watch, they are lying, they are fronting. Everyone's going to watch. This is going to be broadcast to 200 countries. 200 countries are going to be watching this fight, and I think that it's okay. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be really, really big, and it's good for both sports. So, yeah, but it is a spectacle. Let's not kid ourselves.
Where do you rank Floyd in terms of boxers that you most enjoy watching?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. What did you say?
Floyd Mayweather. Where do you rank him in terms of boxers that you most enjoy watching?
Oh, he's one of my favorite fighters. He really is. I think that his skill is unmatched to this day. Since he came onto the scene till now, nobody has matched his skill set. And he's really exciting to watch. Maybe not the Manny Pacquiao fight. That was a bore. That was a snore. Oh, my God, I almost fell asleep. But still, his skills were on display even in that fight. And I just think he's amazing. He's amazing. I mean, his fight against Canelo, everyone was so sure. I was at that fight in Las Vegas. Everyone was so sure that Canelo had it in the bag, and Mayweather took him to school. He humiliated him. It actually made Canelo a better fighter. And people say, oh, Mayweather doesn't have competition. Canelo was competition. Miguel Cotto was major competition. That was a brutal fight. And so he's very, very good.
What is it that you like most about boxing? What is it? What's the appeal of it for you?
The skill. Unfortunately, when I was a kid, I had to fight a lot, and I didn't like fighting, but I know what it means to get punched in the face. And when I see somebody move away from a punch or even roll with a punch, I think that it's just fascinating. And so the sweet science, that's what it is for me. But I also like the entire drama of boxing. I like the lead up to the fights. I like the presser. I like the weigh-in. I like the night of, and I like the post-fight as well. The entire culture of boxing is very exciting to me.
Do you like UFC as much as you like boxing, or not as much?
Not as much, but I do appreciate UFC fighting. I really do. I like it on a very, very high elite level. Sometimes, the prospects, you're like, oh, it gets a little too messy, a little too bloody for me. But, when guys are in there and girls are in there and they do their thing on a very, very elite level, I really enjoy watching it. Really do.
Can I shout a guess at you? How can we do this? How can we do this while respecting? Rosie Perez has been very nice with her time.
We're just shouting one guess here, that's it?
But I don't want to disrespect her or make her too uncomfortable. A little uncomfortable is okay. Too uncomfortable. Are you ready? Are you ready for our group guess, Rosie Perez, even though I haven't asked your permission on any of this? Or I did and you declined it, actually. So I'm rebuffing your request.
Right. Go ahead.
All right.
It's a group.
Give me your best shot.
This is group. Right. We're all going to do it together here, Rose.
All right.
Okay?
It's one guy. I'm not going to say his name. I'm just gonna say the group. The group. Cypress Hill.
No.
Oh!
Can we guess again on Monday?
No, we can't. Can we guess? We'll talk to you about the fight on Monday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Recap.
We'll recap the fight on Monday, and we'll take another guess on Monday.
All right. That was great.
Yes,
we will. I would be more than pleased to recap with you on Monday about Mayweather's win. Oh, I did!
All right, she predicted it. All right, very good, Rosie. Thank you for being on with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much, guys. It was a lot of fun. Take care.
Thanks, Rosie.